So just up ahead, you can see the Colorado River there on the left.
The mighty Colorado. 2,300 kilometers of river stretching from the snowy peaks of America's Rocky Mountains all the way to the Sea of Cortez in Mexico. A place to play and one of deep spiritual significance.
That's worth coming up for.
To me, it's life, man. It's being happy down here.
The Colorado is a lifeline for the United States' arid Southwest. 40 million people and counting rely on it. But the river's under threat.
At the northern end of Lake Powell, the stark reality of the water crisis facing America's Southwest is beyond denial. The reservoir's waters once filled the valley below, supporting a thriving tourism industry centered around a bustling marina. 20 years into the megadrought, this is all that's left.
All along the Colorado, livelihoods are hanging in the balance.
I have dreams about it. I wake up, it's the first thing on my mind.
A once unimaginable worst-case scenario is now a real possibility. If the levels of the Colorado continue to plummet, millions of people could find themselves without power or water. Something has to give.
It is extremely hard to look anybody in the eye and say your way of life is threatened and your way of life may not be able to proceed.
We're hitching a ride deep into the Grand Canyon. We're guests of the Hualapai, the Native American tribe whose land this is.
See you later on. Watch your bottom step.
Ahead, a day of adventure on the river whose rapids helped carve this natural wonder.
All right, group three. Let me get group three together. Got your dry bag, everybody.
Our guide is Jordan Marshall. He's a 34-year-old father of 8. The Colorado runs along the edge of the Hualapai Reservation, providing the tribe with a vital source of tourist revenue.
Well, what we're gonna do is when we go through the rapid is that we're gonna have you lean forward. So what we want you to do is hold on like this. Trust me, people do fall out.
So am I going to scream?
Let's hope so. I think you're more or less gonna be drinking a lot of water.
Okay. Here we go.
The rapids have their own names and legends. Honeymoon, Killer Fang, Separation.
Okay, this is a Class 7 rapid, and you can see why they call it the mighty Colorado. It's pretty impressive.
The Hualapai call the Colorado River Hayatata, the backbone.
They say there's things inside the water, you know, like a spiritual awakening, like some people feel, you know, blessed by it.
But the story on everyone's mind is the one about the Vanishing River.
It's dropping drastically. You can see 20, 18 years ago, that's how high the water was. It's dropping low. I remember last year we had water so low that we were actually walking our boats for about a mile. It does get a little scary, you know, to notice that the water is going away.
And what about the tourism industry if the water levels keep dropping?
I try not to think that too far ahead, you know, because, you know, for me, I try to live in the moment now. So, I mean, thinking about it right now is giving me that little scare about it, you know? Yeah.
downstream from the Hualapai land, the Colorado River flows into America's largest reservoir, Mead, a man-made lake created by the construction of Hoover Dam. It's here at Hoover that it really hits home just how much the water is falling.
See it? You see the colors? Yes. What do you think? The water was up there by the white. Yeah. See where it turns brown?
As far as the eye can see, an eerie bathtub ring encircles the reservoir, a bleak barometer of the escalating crisis.
When I moved here in 1999, we came out to see Hoover Dam for the first time, and I was so impressed by the majesty of it. And I still am every single day when I come out to work here. It's very sobering to see the decline in the reservoir levels.
Patti Aaron moved to Nevada in 1999 to work for the federal agency that manages Hoover Dam. The Southwest's megadrought hadn't yet begun.
When I first moved here, the water level was almost up to the bottom of walkways out to our intake towers. The reservoir was 97% full, and today we're at 29% full.
A century ago, the 7 U.S. states the Colorado courses through decided to divvy up its waters. Half for the upper basin, half for the lower. Then they began damming the mighty river to control the flows.
Thus, the first thunders of man's determination to conquer the Colorado River reverberated between the sheer cliffs of the canyon, which heretofore had known only the hot silence of the desert.
But the 1922 agreement, the Colorado River Compact, was flawed from the get-go. The water was over-allocated. The calculations based on an unusually wet period. Then came climate change and a 20-year drought. Today, the shortcomings of the century-old agreement are laid bare.
So we're going to go into a hard hat area, so I'll give you a hard hat. I have my own.
Days before her retirement, Patti takes me deep into the bowels of the dam, delighting and showing off one last time the engineering masterpiece.
726 feet high, 1,221 feet wide.
Wow.
Well, that's Hoover Dam.
That is Hoover Dam.
It's been called the eighth wonder of the world by certain people.
As well as supplying water to the lower basin states, the hydropower created here delivers electricity to around 350,000 homes.
And how many of these are there?
There are 9 generators on the Arizona side and 8 on the Nevada side. Right now, production is down about 13%.
If water levels continue to plummet, a catastrophic scenario looms. They call it dead pool.
Dead pool means that we can no longer deliver water or produce power. And at Lake Mead, that's elevation 895 feet.
You'd be talking about a drop then of about 150 feet. How soon could that happen?
We're working very hard on making sure that doesn't happen. Having that happen is not an option.
To ensure the water keeps flowing and the lights stay on, this year the federal government, for the first time, triggered water cuts for the lower basin states of Nevada and Arizona. For decades, this 500-kilometer-long canal system has delivered Colorado River water to the people of Arizona, allowing them to live and work in the desert. It's here that the water cuts are hitting the hardest, and farmers are bearing the brunt.
We do work long hours, through the day, through the night, year-round, but, the freedom of it, being outside, being kind of one with the land, The job that I do on a daily basis positively impacts not only the people around me, but people across the world.
It's harvest time in Pinal County, and Jace Miller has been working through the night. Another hot day lies ahead. In this part of America's southwest, temperatures frequently soar into the 40s.
Right now, we're harvesting an alfalfa crop. This crop's been on the ground about 3 days.
Alfalfa hay has long been a staple here, much of it bought up as feed by the region's mammoth dairy industry.
It's a multi-annual crop, so we'll get 3 to 5 years out of this alfalfa stand.
But it's also a thirsty crop, and that's a problem because Jace has seen his water allocation slashed by around 40% this year.
They say, well, just grow a crop that doesn't require as much water. Well, name the crop and we'll do it. We'll gladly do it. We've got to evaluate this from 2 points of view. A, how can we best use our water? But also, what is profitable? We love this way of life, but at the same time, we got to make $1.
Around 70% of Colorado River water goes to agriculture, and as cuts bite, some farmers are selling up, others downsizing.
So right here, these fields to the east and west of us are actually fallowed fields for this current crop season.
But farmers have always followed some fields, right?
To an extent, yes, but nothing on this grand of a scale.
How much is water or lack of on your mind?
I go to bed at night thinking about it. I have dreams about it. I wake up, it's the first thing on my mind.
Jace and his family have been farming in Arizona for 5 generations. He runs the business with his dad and grandfather, but hopes that his son will continue the family tradition or fading fast.
I sure hope to see a 6th generation in the state. He's the only boy in the family, so he's going to carry it on. It's all up to him.
Yeah, exactly.
It is a troubling, gloomy sense that I feel every day of my life that my son will not be able to share in the magnificence and the enjoyment and the beauty of this profession. The thought that it may die under my watch is blood-curdling. It's just sickening, to say the least.
Does it make sense, looking back, that agriculture was allowed to develop to the extent that it has in the Southwest?
We tend to be a scapegoat, so if there's ever a shortage or an issue, take it from the farmers and ranchers. Farmers and ranchers are feeding and clothing the world.
If there's one place that's tried to defy reality, it's Las Vegas.
Viva! Viva Las Vegas! Thank you very much.
An audacious, extravagant mecca smack bang in the middle of Nevada's Mojave Desert. Love it or hate it, Las Vegas pulls in the crowds, welcoming more than 40 million visitors a year.
Vegas, baby!
Not the first place you'd think of as adopting a conservative approach to anything, really. But Sin City gets 90% of its water from the Colorado River. And that's focused minds.
Those are flowers on those animals. This is how Las Vegas exists. It imagines the impossible, right? It creates fantasy and brings it to reality.
A little bit excessive?
A little bit excessive. Well, I've been called various things over the course of the years. I've been called the water witch. I guess I would call myself the unfortunate person who ended up in the chair to inherit the worst drought in the desert Southwest, in the town with the driest city in America.
For years, Pat Mulroy was at the helm of Southern Nevada's water agency. Under her leadership, Vegas has transformed itself into an unlikely trailblazer in water conservation.
we recycle 93% of all the wastewater. If it hits the sewer system, it gets recycled. We have what we call a return flow credit. We return the water to Lake Mead, and for every gallon we put in, we can take an extra gallon out. So it's like a closed loop. Where we lose the water is outside.
To crack down on outdoor water waste, a strict conservation program is now underway.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking for any kind of water waste violation that's occurring in this neighborhood. So that can include anything such as water leaving the property, water running off into the gutter and going down the street.
Water cops like Cameron Donnarumma patrol day and night, ready to pounce on rule breakers.
Waterways Investigator 8776. Today is Monday, June 13th, 2022 at 6:58 a.m. Spray and flow is occurring at this property. The water is running off the property and heading down the street.
Grass is legal, but not in your front garden. Lawns on new properties are banned, and there's an incentive program where you get paid to rip up existing turf, even on Vegas's beloved golf courses.
Our biggest incentive programs is our Water Smart Landscapes program, where we pay residents and businesses $3 a square foot to remove grass and put in water-efficient landscapes. And golf courses have been one of the biggest benefactors of that program.
Corey Enos from the Southern Nevada Water Authority says it's a win-win for clubs like the Arroyo. The clubs removed grass from areas of the course where people don't tend to hit the ball.
There used to be wall-to-wall grass from over here where we are to back in front of the houses. But the golf courses found that there are areas where people don't play the balls necessarily. And so they were able to remove grass, save themselves money, and save the community water at the same time.
So is this sustainable? Can golf courses continue to exist?
They can. Golf courses provide an economic benefit and a benefit for our community members as well as those who come from other areas of the country to visit. And so they're doing it in a very efficient manner. As long as we continue to utilize the resource in the most efficient manner possible, I do believe it is sustainable.
From this year, new golf courses are prohibited from using Colorado water, effectively banning any future ones.
So if it's not in existence now, it's not going to exist.
And while the city might be okay for the short term, Pat Mulroy says other long-term solutions like desalination must be considered.
You cannot conserve your way out of this. You have to augment the system. And the only way to augment the system is by tapping into the ocean.
To engineer our way out of this.
Well, look, think about this whole West. It's all engineered, right? I mean, unless you want to go live at Walden Pond, I mean, you somehow live in an engineered environment, right?
Despite the shrinking supply, the upper basin state of Utah is arguing it hasn't yet used all of its Colorado River water. Welcome to St. George in Washington County, where taxis are low and the sun shines most days. In America's fastest growing metro area, houses are going up overnight.
We have about 200,000 people that live in our county right now, and we're expecting that population to double in about 20 to 30 years.
The county's top water official, Zach Grenstrom, is charged with making sure the region has water security into the future.
Utah has been slow in developing water. It has been cautious. And so because Utah has been smart about how it's developing its water, we don't think we should be punished for that now.
The county currently gets all of its water from this small river, the Virgin, but it can't sustain future growth. Utah is now backing a bold plan, some would say crazy, to build a 225-kilometer-long pipeline to bring Colorado River water all the way to St. George.
So Utah does not plan to use any water over the amount it's entitled to, and we won't, and we don't think any other state should do that.
Here in Utah, we just want to have the same right that the other states have had.
As the states bicker over the dwindling supply, yet another hand is being raised. Native American tribes were excluded from the 1922 Colorado River Compact. The Navajo, America's largest tribe, is still fighting for its full share of the precious resource.
Yeah, it's my first time ever being this close to
the rock in the back.
A battle being spearheaded by Navajo President Jonathan Nez.
Oh, there, yes, great. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your service.
God bless you.
Indigenous peoples have been ignored for way too long. And the reason why I say that is there's 30 to 40% of our Navajo people that don't have running water in the most powerful country in the world. And that is unacceptable.
Blackbrook in our native language is called Cajun.
Mary Anderson and her husband Ace built their house in Fort Defiance, Arizona in the 1980s. But they never imagined they'd still be hauling groundwater in 2022.
It all depends on what we have scheduled for the day. Like if we need to wash the dishes and we did a lot of cooking, then we probably will use about 2 of that bucket right there. The hot water goes in here, nice and hot, and wash it and then put it in to rinse it.
But with a chronic lack of infrastructure also hindering access to running water, the couple know a settlement won't change things overnight.
Even if they pass it tomorrow and say, hey, the Navajo people and all the native people in the state of Arizona got water rights to the Colorado River project. And it's not like we're going to get that water the following day, you know.
Mary, what would it mean for you to have running water here in your home?
I'd say I'd be the happiest woman around.
In 2026, the federal government and the states will renegotiate the Colorado River Compact. Native American tribes are demanding that this time they have a seat at the table.
In the Southwest, water may be more valuable than gold in the future. And so we want a foundation. We want our fair share of our water.
I'm not going to say it's too late, but we're in true crisis.
Professor Jack Schmidt is a renowned river scientist. He spent decades chronicling the Colorado's troubles.
The undeniable fact is there's less water in the Colorado River. The undeniable fact is there's no more water in the upper basin that's just being used, unused, and we're going to tap water that no one else is using. That concept is dead.
Where is the Rincon?
Today, Jack's taking a ride on Lake Powell, another man-made reservoir on the Colorado.
I'm so excited to get you down here to see all the sediment in these canyons. It's so interesting.
In the driving seat, Eric Balkan, an old friend who heads up an environmental group which wants to restore this part of the river to its natural state.
So we are approaching Gregory Natural Bridge. This is one of the largest natural bridges in the country, and it was drowned in 1969, and it came out of water for the first time last summer. So to be able to boat under this is a really unique experience. When the reservoir was full, you could boat over the top of that thing. Billy. Yes, you can get off now.
This is great. It's amazing. I don't know that I ever thought I'd ever see the things that were lost by water development.
Now, as water recedes, natural wonders, including the signature formation cathedral in the desert, are re-emerging, a mesmerizing silver lining to the unfolding water crisis.
I think right now the floor is right about there. I think we're about, I think it's about 10 feet above.
I see what you're saying.
You can see we're getting close to what it used to look like. This is a national treasure. There is nowhere else like this in the world. We're now being given a chance to get it back.
In a place that, at least from a water supply decision-making standpoint, it's probably more convenient to not know a place like this is here. And there's a whole lot of people who would rather we just pretended the Colorado River is just a checking account and doesn't include this. Come on, Bill, let's get a little bit further. So when we cut these new deals about how much water should be used in the upper basin, how much water should be used in the lower basin, there is an environmental impact of that.
With no sign of the drought breaking, last month the federal government announced even deeper cuts. Jace and his farming mate, Jerry Turner, say from next year they'll have zero access to Colorado River water.
I mean, if we don't farm around here, these towns are going to close down. I mean, our kids aren't going to have schools to go to. Like, we're going to have to find something else to do. So, I mean, I've got two young boys that are all about farming and all into it, but I don't know around here if there will be anything for them to do, you know?
When the cuts first started to kick in this year, did you feel that to some extent you'd been in denial about that or hoping that it would change?
I think I can speak for Jerry. Jerry, we weren't in denial.
I think, I wouldn't say we were in denial, but partially it's something that in our lifetime we've been hearing about forever.
It's kind of surreal.
The time's coming, you know, like it's actually happening.
It is extremely hard to look anybody in the eye and say your way of life is threatened and your way of life may not be able to proceed.
If there's no agreement in 2026, it is not just the future of Las Vegas, but the future of Denver and all the Front Range cities, of Salt Lake and all the Utah cities, of Albuquerque, of all of Southern California, of all urban Arizona, and all of northern New Mexico. You can take this entire region and you can shut it down.
There are going to be limits, and that's not the American way to recognize limits. But there are strong limits here, and we're going to have to deal with them.